Hi everyone, my name is AgnesChavez. I'm a sci artist and a new media artist, and I'm going to start this presentation with my new glasses to show you how I am experimenting with some of the new Zoom features and new virtual technologies to see how we can make the student workshops more fun and interesting for the students. I'm going to leave my glasses on for a little bit because they're super cool. So what does it mean when I say that I'm a sci artist? So I am really fascinated with science and have been for decades. I believe that science is an amazing way to understand the universe and to bring that knowledge to students and also just to the community. And right now, especially, science literacy is super important. So I'm focusing my work on it quite a bit right now. And also I see when I say new media technology, it's because I explore the latest technologies in my work. I'm always looking for the latest things to explore. And the other thing about my work is that it's participatory. So participatory is another genre that just means that the audience actually is required in order to complete the work. So they interact with it or they contribute to it in some way to complete it. So that said, I'm going to just take you through some of my projects. And one last thing is that, and you'll see it in this installation that's coming now, which is the Xtrees, is that I also do work that raises awareness to social issues or ecological issues in some way. So I'm always exploring through science, what are the things going on in the world that we need to raise awareness to or inspire change in some way, social change in some way. Okay, so Xtrees is an installation that is a projection of trees. I'm going to take you through them. Its purpose is to raise awareness to deforestation and climate change. And so we do that through this projection onto a building of an algorithm. Oh, I think I'll take off my glasses now. One moment. Okay, so you can see here, I'm going to do another image. It's projected wrapped onto this building. And here you can see some text messages. And so what happens is that the audience sends tweets or text messages to keywords that are always exposed here on the building. And when they do that, that's what activates the program. It actually generates a branch and then displays the tweet. And it just keeps growing. It's a dynamically generating algorithm. So we're seeing right now a photo, but in real life, it's actually generating in real time. And people can see their messages appear on the wall. So it's really engaging, and I've done it in many different locations for different festivals. And each time you can change the colors of the trees or the keywords that people put in. And it also just grabs tweets randomly from the world. People don't know they're part of the art piece, but if there's anyone that's typing a message with the word, trees in it at that moment, it appears on the wall. So it's actually just showing what what's going on in the world around those messages. The next piece I'm going to take you to is called Biota. So I was inspired. I was invited to do a commissioned art piece for an exhibit called Species in Peril Along the Rio Grande, and each artist had to pick a species that was in peril, and I chose microbial species because I learned that there are more microbial species on Earth than there are stars in the galaxy. And their importance to the ecosystem has just become known because of scientific technologies such as DNA sequencing. So what I did is I collected a water sample from the river here that was kind of contaminated, and I sent it off to the DNA sequencing lab, and they sent back an Excel file that showed me 700 species that lived in that water sample and their abundance level, which you can see above here in the slide. And you can see that I'm putting something into those bubbles. So I made this sculpture made out of copolyester plastic, which you can actually form with a heat gun. And I'm putting in microalgae. So I learned about microalgae as a very important microbial species. It's even used for mitigation in climate change. And as we know, it's can used for food and many things. So it's a very important microbial species. So I focused on it. Then if you notice the installation, there's a box down here. And this box has a projector. And then there's a computer in there. And then in the computer, there's an algorithm. So I work with coders in order to do the data visualization work. I work with coders. And this piece actually took all that data and is visualizing it by having a different colored pattern for every microbial species. So as you're standing there, you see it cycle through the different patterns, which represent the different microbial species. And then these cables you see here are these are actually fiber optics that are being lit from the light coming from the light projector. And in the end, it kind of looks like a microbial species of some kind. So I wanted it to feel like that people felt like it was some kind of being, and to try to build empathy. So a lot of why I do this work is to try to build empathy and connection with nature. So people hopefully will feel like they want to protect nature if they see our connection to it. And the next piece I want to share with you is called Fluidic Data. So in 2013, I did a research stay at CERN. And CERN is the home of the Large Hadron Collider. It is the largest particle accelerator in the world. And that's where they collide particles. And then they use these detectors. There are 4 of these detectors that are like big camera obscuras, and they're the ones that collect and interpret the data from the particle collisions. And I find this fascinating because what CERN is trying to do is understand the universe and what it's made of and where we come from. So these are really esoteric questions being explored scientifically. And I find it fascinating. So it's fascinating. So in my research day, I learned about it and then created art around it and created educational programs around it. And through that work, I was invited to do an installation co-created with physicists and engineers at CERN. You can see me there standing by the installation. So I'm just going to briefly point to and show you what it is. So there are these pods that are made out of that same material that I mentioned. And this material allows you to bend it and form it. And then these are those fiber optics you saw earlier. And these are the light source are LED lights with Arduinos in here, as opposed to the other one that had a slide projector, a light projector. And these are actually hoses that have water with colored dye. There are 4 colors representing the 4 detectors. And what this piece does is it's played like an instrument by the Large Hadron Collider. So it's connected to that detector that collects the data. And then once this is connected, this is still in process, each one of these represent particles. And when those particles are detected, they turn on. So this thing will have these particles being on, off when those particles are being detected. Each one represents a specific particle. Here you can see another shot of it. Here's a close-up of one of those pods. You can see how intricate they are. Here's another close-up of it. And here's a close-up of the ones on the top that are these are the more complex particles, and the ones along the bottom are more the elementary particles. So the next project I'm going to take you to is the projecting particles. So what I wanted to do when I started to become involved in exploring particle physics is I wanted to engage kids in the exploration, because that's what I love to do. So I created this workshop, which was a 3-day workshop. And the methodology is to bring in the experts to share the science. So I'm the artist and I work with other artists on this project, but the scientist is the one that delivers the content. So we beamed in Steve from CERN, so they get to see the control center and learn about particle physics. And here you see Shane Wood, who's a physics teacher and also part of the CorkNet staff that comes and delivers the actual physics instruction part of the workshop. You can see him here working with the students, showing them how to analyze the data from the Large Hadron Collider through this app. All of this content is free. Here's some of the footage from that workshop where the kids first started to explore this idea of the body cosmos, of filling their body traces with space imagery. And they're playing around with Tag Tool, which is a wonderful app that allows you to finger paint with the app so that the kids can create projection art about what they learned. Here's an example of student work that was shown at the Paseo Festival by 2 middle school girls. And again, this is all animated and live. You're just seeing a photograph of it. We took it to Havana, where the kids had never even touched an iPad. And by the end of the workshop, they were doing live projection. And then we also collaborated with someone I met at Standing Rock, which was a Lakota cultural specialist. And we created a version of the workshop called Indigenous Cosmology Meets Particle Physics. And here the kids learned that there are also, there's the art way of knowing and the science way of knowing, but there's also the native science way of knowing. And so he shares with them understanding of the universe through the lens of native science. And in the end, the projection is done onto a TP, which he assembles. So now I'm going to take you out of the video and into the website so I can share some of the educational projects that I build around these art installations. So now you're looking at the StemArts.com website. So you can go to this anytime to access these STEAM activities. So the purpose is to go behind the scenes of these exciting sci-art events and installations that are created. So just to give you an example of how it works, I'm going to take you into the Paseo. So I'm co-founder of the Paseo Festival, which is a participatory art festival in Taos, New Mexico. And it's for the past 7 years, I've been developing the StemArts at the Paseo youth program. So there's a lot of content here. This is 2019, 18, and 17. They all have the same format. I'm going to take you into 2018. And I'm going to go into these, each one of these is a different artist. So what I did is curated the artists from the festival whose work had science, art, and technology just inherent in the work, and then built curriculum, tools, and activities around that artist. So I'm going to take you into Victoria Vesna. So all of the pages have the same format, which is you can have the student explore the artist, their bio, the installation that was contributed, the description of the installation, videos of past work, a message from the artist to the students. And then I kind of extrapolate the science and technology that's embedded in the work, and kind of that's over here. This is a bio artist. And then you'll see this tool or design tool or artist tool that takes them through the different, like the project that can become a lesson plan for you, right? So you can have the kids explore all the artists or the particular artist, research the science behind the work, experiment with some kind of hands-on activity, all of which are included here. These are the activities. Collaborate, and then do their final art that's inspired by this artist genre. So for example, this artist is a bio artist and she has some fun things. Well, we've found some fun activities around the artist's work. Make a plankton projector, create cyanotypes from iPhone images, or do-it-yourself microscopes with a laser pen. So the really cool sci-tech projects. And you can do this, you can explore all of these artists from the different years. And then I'm going to just take you as another example over to BioSteam. So BioSteam is our newest project, and we call it BioSteam because now it's focused on having kids connect to nature and design with nature to imagine a better world. And it's in response to the times that we live in that are more urgent than ever for our kids to feel informed and inspired to respond to these challenges, such as climate change, biodiversity loss. So our first project is called Pollinator Concentrator, our first project of the BioSteam program. So I'll just show you, go in there, and you can see it's very similar. You go into the artist page, and now the artist is Anna MacArthur, who's a land artist, eco artist. She did this land piece here in Taos. You can watch the video to see it, learn about what it's about. And it's basically about biodiversity loss and pollinator decline. So it's tied into that project that I did called Biota that I showed you. So students can learn about, see the videos of the work, learn about how it's a site piece at Taos Land Trust. Same thing as you see. And then, but now you go into view project to get to the design tool. And we've added something new, which are these interviews. So you can now watch a video interview of the artist. But also we collaborated with Taos Pueblo and had cultural specialists talk about the topic of biodiversity and pollinator loss and learn about the indigenous worldview and native science from Greg Cajete and from a tribal elder. So there's a lot of content there to get a more interdisciplinary experience of this topic, which is pollinator decline and biodiversity loss. There's a lot of tools here that I'm not going to go into, but you can explore it on your own. So this is the Space Messenger project that I'm really excited to share with you. And it's an augmented reality projection and youth workshop. So I'll take you through this PDF file here. So first of all, the newest thing that's going on is that I'm starting a virtual exchange program, which is in response to the fact that so many of our international field trips have become canceled. So this is a virtual exchange program that connects kids in New Mexico to kids in other countries and teachers as well, so they can collaborate together. So the topic is collaborating. Students become like ambassadors and they become space messengers, radiating their messages out to the world. So what happens is there's this workshop, which is all virtual, and the student imagery and messages are collected from the workshop and become part of a final installation. So what they're exploring in terms of the topic is the human impact of biodiversity, both on Earth and in space. So seeing themselves as global citizens, imagining a sustainable interplanetary future. So what they learn about is the science behind sensing technologies. So telescopes and particle accelerators and all these kinds of tools that are what allow us to understand the universe in a new way. And we're focusing on understanding how urgent it is to protect biodiversity on Earth as in space, because it's challenging the notion that space is outer and therefore not part of us. And it points to the science that reveals that we have a fragile interdependent relationship between Earth, sky, and space, and the importance of a biodiverse interplanetary perspective in environmental policy. So hundreds of students will participate in it, and what they're going to be contributing are messages as well as images. So they will be creating these collaging these Earth sky images into their animated bodies that we're going to be capturing using MadMapper. And the team are going to be, this is like a little mini conference. So the way the StemArts methodology works is that we bring the experts in to share. So we have, actually we have someone new, which is from NASA, talking about this issue of space policy and how important it is that we don't bring our colonial mindset and to space. Right now, as we all know from the news, there's a lot going on in extracting from the moon and from Mars with Elon Musk and Bezos. So it's a really important time for students to learn about this because they're going to be part of that decision-making process in regulating what happens for the future generations. So these are some of the people on our team. And yeah, we're really excited about bringing this. It's going to launch in the spring in Lisbon, Portugal, at a festival of science and art festival. Then it's going to come to New Mexico in the fall, and then it'll go to Guadalajara, Mexico in the later fall. And then it'll travel around the world. And the idea is that we'll be collecting these thought messages. So the kids are sharing their thoughts and wishes for the future, bringing in the technology that I had in Xtrees that you saw earlier, that's coming into this project. So kids will be able to share their messages through text in a data sharing platform that I have. And you'll be able to, on your phone, see the students' messages scrolling, and then you'll be able to also see them projected onto the wall. So these large, giant-sized images of the students' body outlines with images at the end, words that they've collected. So that completes my presentation, and I'll see you in a few minutes to answer any questions that you have, because I know I went very, very quickly over everything. And so if there's anything that you would like to know more about, I'd be happy to take some questions. Thanks for listening.